Welcome to Patriot TV. I'm your host, Janet Palumbi. I am broadcasting this week from our Patriot Church Stand Conference, and I am so grateful to have with me today in the studio someone that many of you have heard of before from his Starbucks Red Cup days, Joshua Feuerstein. Joshua Feuerstein, how are you?
You know what? Great. Excited to be on the program. Excited to be here at the conference.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your busy schedule to talk to us here at Patriot TV.
Well, look, we are a huge believer in Christians and patriots taking over media, so why wouldn't I want to be a part of this?
Awesome, awesome. Well, you flew in yesterday with your big family for the Patriot Church Stand Conference.
Yep.
And Pastor was joking about 19 children. How many children do you really have?
6. Not quite 19.
You're working on 19. You're trying to
yeah.
keep up with our Pastor Sharon Hagian, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So you have 6 children, and you flew in from Texas, correct?
Yes, yeah. We're
in Texas.
Based in Dallas.
Based in Dallas. Okay. You actually last night delivered a very, very powerful Mountains and Valleys sermon, which was amazing.
Thank you for that.
Now, I originally started listening to you maybe 8 years ago or so, when you had some pretty strong opinions about the Starbucks Red Cup.
Yeah, well, it's funny because that seems to be the one video that everyone's like, Red Cup, Red Cup.
Yeah, you're the Red Cup guy.
Yeah, which is funny because it wasn't even the largest video. It maybe had the most social impact.
Mm-hmm.
Videos for me, it was funny because I used to be a pastor, and people today, they always come up and say, oh, you're the political guy, you know? And reality was, I wasn't. Like, I'm a preacher. Like, at heart, I'm a preacher.
Yeah.
But my frustration is that here I was as a preacher, mostly as an evangelist, but when all of these issues started coming up in America, particularly under the Obama regime, I noticed that pastors were not speaking up. They just were saying nothing at all. And thus, I just started putting out videos, right? But we've always been evangelistic at heart. It's just at the same time, I think that it's one thing to be evangelistic, but we also have to hold the line.
Right.
And reality is that our children, like if I think about my children, I have to make sure that I leave. Now, we believe that the Lord's coming back soon, and we're going to be ready for that, and we're hoping and praying and excited about that. But at the same time, I also want to make sure that if it's not on my timetable, I need to make sure that I leave in America to my children and to my grandchildren where they still have the freedoms and the capabilities. Like, I want America to still look like the America that I grew up in, right? And unfortunately, we're seeing the degradation of our culture and our society. And so at some point, someone's got to push back. But it's funny because everyone talks about the Starbucks cup. And even though it seems like a very, very silly notion that there was this, war over the Starbucks cup, it's more about what the Starbucks cup symbolized and represented, which was this. It's the removal of Christian symbols from culture because they want to get rid of the narrative and the storyline, be politically correct. And that year, they had actually told, it was more the statement that came out with the Starbucks cup, was they said, we're going to create this blank red canvas for people of all faiths to draw their own narrative. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, no, this is not some other religious holiday. This is Christmas where we celebrate Christ. And at that time, we were seeing removal of Christian or Christmas symbols from the public square. You had malls that were saying no more Christmas trees, et cetera, et cetera. And so I was simply using the symbolism of the Starbucks cup to show people, ladies and gentlemen, here is a problem. This is a conundrum. This is an issue. And obviously it took fire. But most viewed video was actually a video I did called Dear Mr. Atheist. And would you believe that thing did 450 million views on a single video?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you hit a chord with me. I have a 4-year-old grandson, and I was sitting pretty comfortably in evangelical churches most of my life, and then I got kind of tired of the church saying nothing.
Right.
So there came a point in my life where I said to my husband, I'm not going back to church because it's just a social club. Well, COVID hit. And when COVID hit, I started scouring the internet for anything I could find, anyone that I could find that made sense, because something was up. And something way bigger than that red cup was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And you started speaking out about COVID. You and a whole bunch of other unknowns to me started speaking out about COVID. I found people I never knew existed, and I've been a Christian since I was 12. Lots of backsliding, but definitely way too comfortable in my seat. So people like Lance Wallnau, Mario Murillo, and people I never heard of. And I got tuned into Flashpoint Live and some of the really great people that were speaking out. And people like you started speaking to those of us that had ears to ear and pushed us towards the remnant. And if you weren't part of the remnant church then, those of us that had the ears to hear, we are part of the remnant church now. And we're plugged in, we're doing things like podcasts, podcasts are popping up everywhere right now. And I love it because even if it's a small audience, that's what we're here for.
Look,
we're here to plant those seeds.
Everyone's always concerned about audience size, and you're talking
Yep.
to somebody that has had 3 million followers.
Yep.
Okay, and so people are always coming up. Well, and the one thing that they always say is, "Well, my audience, isn't that?" And I just remind them this: Jesus discipled 12 people.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, he preached and stuff, but the people that were always tuning into his daily podcast, there were 12 people, right? But the reality is that, and this is the force multiplier, is that when you teach 12 and they teach 12 and they teach 12.
It's like a wildfire.
Yeah, so I always tell people, don't be concerned with the numbers of the people that are watching the program. Be concerned of the quality of the people that you are helping to build. And what about the people that they get to reach? Like, I used to, back, when I pastored in my, seems like a previous life now. Back when I pastored, I would tell Sunday school teachers, to you may see a room full of just kids, right? Mm-hmm. But reality is what about the Sunday school teacher that led Billy Graham to Jesus?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What about the Sunday school teacher that led Rod Parsley to Jesus?
Yeah.
Or what, like if you start thinking about the impact that you have, like in that room potentially are some of the greatest voices, and it's the voice that shapes the voice,
Yeah.
right? So every single person in this community, in this remnant, has a voice that matters, because it's not about how many people you're reaching on a grand scale. It's how many people am I effectively communicating, even into my lifestyle, that look at me and take strength from.
I love that, and that's why we do these conferences. You and Todd Coconato and the people that are here, you're ministering to those of us that have that passion. And my husband and I celebrated 37 years this weekend, and we were driving up to the Great Smoky Mountains. And as we had a big fire here in Gatlinburg a few years back that just pulverized a lot of the mountains. And we were driving up, and I said to him, it makes sense. Everything's so lush and green right now. And that one little spark that set off that horrible wildfire that put people out of their homes and killed people and killed animals, you can see how that happened. But when that spark works for God, look what that can do. That one little spark, the massive, massive impact that we can have if we just follow what God calls us. And that I want to talk about. You talked about mountains and valleys.
Right.
Can you share with us right now, with our Patriot TV audience, what valleys are you traveling through right now to take you to climb those mountains? I think you're working on some new things in your life, some new mountains that God's put in front of you. Can you share some of that with us?
Yeah, so, it's interesting because probably about 20 years ago, the Lord started speaking to me about taking over media. And the problem is this, is that oftentimes God will give you a glimpse of the future and it gets you excited, but He doesn't tell you the journey that it's going to take to get you there, right? And so if I would have known the journey that I would have to go on 20 years ago when He gave me this vision for what the future would hold. Reality is, I probably would not have went on the journey, right? But he showed me a glimpse of the glory, right? And he showed me a glimpse of the future and the possibility and the promise. And it actually came through several different prophetic words, through people that all just aligned perfectly. And so, of course, I had my idea of how it would happen. I thought maybe, it would be TVN or it would be this. But reality is that all of a sudden we start seeing online views and all this stuff happen. And then we get to 5 billion video views. And then I get canceled. And when you take, 8 years of your life and you pour it into building this online audience, and then all of a sudden in 1 second, it's just ripped away from you, right? And when that happens, then I had a reality show with A&E that was about to launch, so that ended up getting canceled. And I mean, they cancel me everywhere. Even stuff like PayPal and Twitter and Cash App. Just gone, right? And so now I'm sitting there in this valley, and I'm just kind of like stunned, and I'm like, man. Just overnight, it's almost like in some senses, your identity just disappears. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm not this person anymore. And so I'm just kind of walking around in a stupor. And a buddy of mine actually came up to me and he said, man, you have to understand, you were a planet in their universe. He said, you need to go build the universe. And he said, and when you build the universe, every planet that comes into your universe makes your universe bigger. So now all you have to do is give a space for other planets to come in. And I said, wow, this makes sense. And so we set off on a very large endeavor, because anything that we do, we want to do effectively, efficiently, but we want to do with excellence. And the problem with Christian media is that Christian media has not been excellent, right? Because normally it doesn't have the funding that other media does.
Right.
And so we said, okay, we may be David here, and we may not have all of Hollywood's money. We don't have these Goliath-sized budgets. I said, but what we do is whatever we do, we will do with excellence, and we'll let God do the rest. So long story short, it all started with an idea on a napkin. And we said, all right, let's just put this into action. Now, it required us to risk, the money that we had and the money that we had put together. And a couple of my friends came in, and we just said, you know what, we believe in this vision. And so we are renovating. We were able to take over a large portion of a 48,500 square foot studio in Dallas, Texas. And then I was able to go get guys like Grant Stinchfield and Graham Allen and Dr. Peter McCullough. And I mean, the list just kept growing and growing and growing.
There's a lot of them, aren't there?
Yes, and we have a lot under contract, which we will be coming out with in the near future, and people will be hearing these very big names. But people started they just became attracted to this project. It was God gravity. They just but we said it's not just political news. We need family entertainment. So now we just licensed, I think, almost 400 family-friendly movies. We have reality shows and kids' cartoons and all this stuff coming. We want to create a place that people can come and get family entertainment. Now, reality is they're going to come for the entertainment, but if you're on our platform, it doesn't take very much to find Jesus. Every corner, he's just kind of waiting there in one of the pieces of content. So we're also calling it our sneaky Jesus funnel, in the sense that people are going to come to the platform, and we're going to, what we like to call God smuggling. And we're going to use really high level content to show people Jesus. And so we're really, really excited about the project. It launches this month, actually.
That's exciting.
The app's already hiding in the App Store, but we're going to do an official launch, and then we'll be releasing this content over the next several weeks. The platform's going to be flooded with content, so we're excited.
That's awesome. I'm a big fan of Lance Wallnau's Seven Mountains.
Yes.
And media is such a huge mountain that a lot of people are jumping into, but you're jumping into it with the right heart and the right spirit, and I'm hopeful that it motivates more people to jump into the media out, because media has that power, that massive power to reach, like we talked about, like a wildfire, so many, because we're all searching. I mean, we canceled our TV. Everything is streaming now. Everything is apps. Everything is podcasts, but we're all searching, and we need so many more people in media to do what you're doing. The Kevin and Sam Sorbos and the people you're talking about. These are big names that we've seen, but they're big names that people might not know their faith. And when they're on your platform, we're going to find out we're not alone, because we feel alone out here sometimes.
Yeah.
And when we find out that this person is with us and this person gets it and this person knows the truth and is speaking the truth, I think it's going to motivate so many more of us to spread that wildfire. That's really exciting what you're doing. I heard your wife last night. She's beautiful. I had no idea. She's a Christian singer. What a beautiful voice she has.
Yeah, she's amazing. I'll tell you, I could not have climbed this mountain had it not been for her.
Yeah.
And as the Bible says, when a man findeth a wife, he findeth a good thing.
Yeah.
I've found a good thing.
Well, you have a beautiful family, and like I said, it tugs at my heartstrings, because I had my very first grandson, and when that little grandchild comes into the world, into your life, it motivates you to get off your butt,
right?
Get out of your comfortable church pew and
do something.
Because we're all waiting. We could all wait comfortably like the woke churches are doing and wait for Jesus to return. But like you said, what if it's 50 years from now? What if it's 20? We don't know. And the world that my grandson is growing up in right now is absolutely disgusting. Mike Lindell always likes to say it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And I don't want that world for my grandson. I don't want that world for my children. And people like you are really motivating those of us that want to make a difference. And I thank you so much for that. I thank you for coming to our conference.
Thank you.
I thank you for your message last night. It was powerful. It was motivating.
Thank you.
And I so appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule.
Well,
we're going to be following you.
And I'm going to be following you, because this is everything that I'm excited about. It's not just the big channels that we put, it's all of the other channels, right? That when we come together, and I'll just close with this little thought, is that we have the internet, right? You're on the internet. And the Lord spoke to me many years ago and said, www, the World Wide Web. Satan is using the web like a spider to catch his prey. But he said, I want you to use the internet to become a fisher of men. So I'm not worried about the web, because I want to use the net.
I loved your television last night.
Right?
Can you go through that real quick for me?
Yeah. If television is literally to do that, they are telling a vision. Television. It's what? They're channels. This is another actual sorcery word, to channel something. You channel the spirit. So you have a television, you're channeling, it's channel, and then what do they call the programs? Programming, right? Like literally, it's called program. Like they're not even hiding exactly what they're telling you, So they're television, channel, programming. Like those are three words that I think should tell you, we may have a problem.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
You're climbing a huge mountain, right?
Same with you all.
Yeah. Well, Patriot Church, we're climbing a mountain, but you know what?
Let's do it
this
together
is amazing.
in Jesus' name.
And thank you so much for doing
Thank
this.
you.
I so appreciate you.
Thank you.